Welcome, pilgrims, to episode 16 of the Polygon Pilgrimage. This week we're going to be going over a neat little feature inside of the transform tool once again that shows you the average between points. So, with our first example here, normally when I select a single point, what you're going to get in the transform tool here is the readout of that point's position in space. As we see here, 100, 0, and 100. And that's true because this object is indeed 200 wide by 100 tall. But now if I select multiple points, what it's going to give me here looks wrong at first, but it's really not. I have an x of 100, which is true. They're both at 100, so the average between the two is 100. I have a y of 0, which is true because it is indeed on the y-axis. And it gives me a z of 50, which between a z of 0 here and a z of 100 here, the average is indeed 50. So what this tells you here, and it's important to know what the tool is giving you back, is that these points, when selected, this is the average z. So you know that if you want to find a point right in the middle, that's where you got to put it. And it's really helpful, and we're going to go through a couple of examples of how this gets even more helpful. So let's move on to the second example. Alright, so let's go ahead and hide this object, and I'm going to unhide our second example. Now in this second example, what we have here is a wall that has multiple segments, and you'll see I moved it back on the y-axis so it's not sitting on a nice, what I call a happy number grid point, and we have a segment here of the wall that is slanted. So this works obviously even if the points are slanted. So if I select these 2 points, it's going to give me the average in the middle here. Now this is really helpful in one particular way. Let's say, for example, I were to cut a slant in here, or cut an edge in here rather, and I've moved it all over the place. Well, now if I make some edits and I make some nice geometry, I go to my top view here and I want to put it back so that it's perfectly in line. Well, that could be pretty tricky because doing this by hand, is that close enough? I'm not sure. Who knows? It's very hard to line that up perfectly by hand. So what I can do though is select these 2 points, and it's going to tell me what the average is between them, and I want to pay attention to the y-axis here. So if I look down here, it says 34.6. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and then with my edge selected, I'm going to paste that in here, and bam, right there, it's been recentered perfectly along that line. And this is super helpful for when you have a slant that cannot change, but you want to have geometry in that slant. An example is that I've been working on the house project, as you know, and when I'm building the roofs that have, a slant and I want to cut the dormers into them, I have to make sure that that slant remains perfect no matter what I put on top of it. And this is a nice way to take care of that. So alright, let's move on to our third example, and I'll see you there in a moment. Alright, so for example 3, let's go ahead and hide this. We'll unhide by name our rock wall. So here's a quick and dirty little model I threw together for you guys that shows a extreme scenario. So we have geometry that's kind of messy, it's all over the place, and you've got all kinds of points. So here's where this will really come in handy. So in my pretend scenario here, I've been working on this rock wall, and you can see some of these points follow a pretty nice curve around, but I get some notes back from my art director that he really wants this particular edge here to follow a certain curve. And in particular, he's told me that I need to take these 2 points and find the average between them, and that's where he wants them to fall. So luckily I know about this trick, and that's nice and easy. I select the 2 points, and I look here, my x value is 11.774. So I know that I need to move this point to that position. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there, and there we go. So now I have a nice guide that I can use to start to readjust some of these points. And if I follow that edge a little bit and just start sort of push and pull these around, now from here to here, I have a nice transition, and we get a little bit more light into the crevice maybe is what he was looking for. But I've accomplished my goal using the power of the tool. So that's a really handy little trick, and as long as you know to look at it and understand what it's telling you, you can really take advantage of some of the really powerful tools that are built in. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it was a bit of a shorter episode. As you can probably hear, I'm still getting over this cold. But next week we're going to be back at full swing, and we're going to have some awesome stuff that we're going to be learning. So I encourage you, use these tools, practice, get better. If you have questions, feel free to email me and we'll go over stuff. And if you have something that you want to share as well, email me and we'll do a pilgrimage about it. And, we can share that with a lot of people and we can all get better. And that's really what it's all about. So I encourage you to, continue to practice. Go ahead and enjoy the quote at the bottom of the page. And I will see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.